Grace's hands wouldn't stop shaking. 2 pink lines. She stared at them through the blur of tears, and all she could hear was Richard Patterson's voice from 3 hours ago. "We don't need your kind here anymore." Your kind? She'd worked 6 years at Anderson and Associates. 6 years of early mornings and late nights. 6 years of proving herself over and over. And it took Richard 3 sentences to erase all of it. Position eliminated. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Grace sat on her bathroom floor, pregnancy test clutched in her fist, and laughed. Actually laughed. The sound came out wrong, strangled, like her body couldn't decide between laughing and screaming. The termination letter was downstairs in her purse. She'd read it so many times in the parking garage she had it memorized. 3 sentences. That's all her career was worth. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now. Stay with me until the end of this story because what Grace goes through, nobody talks about this. Drop a comment and tell me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far her story travels. These stories need witnesses. Now let me take you back to 7:45 this morning when Grace still had a job. She was at her desk with her coffee black. No sugar when Richard's assistant showed up. "He wants to see you now," Kelly said without looking at Grace's face. Grace's stomach dropped. "Did he say why?" "Just go." Kelly walked away fast, like she was running from something. Grace stood up, smoothed down her skirt, grabbed her phone. She passed Jennifer Patterson's desk on the way to Richard's office and caught the girl smirking at her computer screen. Richard's door was open. He sat behind his desk with a woman Grace had never seen before. White, thin, expensive suit, HR written all over her. "Grace, close the door," Richard said. Grace closed it. Nobody asked her to sit, so she didn't. "This is Diane Morrison, from Human Resources," Richard continued. He was reading from a paper on his desk. Wouldn't look at Grace. "We need to discuss your employment status." "My employment status?" Grace's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice level. "We're restructuring. Your position is eliminated effective immediately." The words hit like a slap. Eliminated. "Richard. I just closed Johnson. 300,000 in new business. This isn't a negotiation. What did I do wrong?" "Nothing. This is about restructuring. Is Jennifer keeping her job?" Richard's face flushed red. "That's not relevant. She's been here 4 months. I've been here 6 years. How is that not relevant?" Diane Morrison stood up. "Miss Okonkwo, you need to sign this severance agreement. 2 weeks' pay. Then security will escort you out." "Security? You're treating me like a criminal?" "Company policy," Diane said, flat as concrete. Grace looked at Richard, really looked at him. "Why? Just tell me the truth." Richard's jaw clenched. For 1 second Grace thought he might actually be honest. Then his face went blank and cold. "We don't need your kind here anymore," he said quietly. The room went silent. Grace heard the words, understood them, felt them crack something open in her chest. She signed the papers. Didn't cry. Didn't argue. Just signed her name and watched 6 years disappear. The security guard was waiting outside. Young guy. Wouldn't meet her eyes. "Ma'am, I need to escort you to your desk." Her desk was already cleared. Everything packed in a cardboard box. They'd done it before they even called her in. Grace picked up the box and started walking. Every person she passed looked away. Rebecca from accounting. Tom from marketing. Sarah from sales. People she'd worked with for years. Jennifer Patterson smiled as Grace walked by. "Have a nice day," she said. Sweet and poisonous. Grace made it to the elevator. Down 18 floors. Through the lobby. To her car. Then she sat there with the box in her lap and couldn't make herself move. Her phone rang. Marcus. She let it ring 3 times before answering. "Hey baby, you good?" Marcus sounded happy. He always sounded happy in the mornings. "I was thinking Italian tonight. That place you like. I got fired." Silence. Then. "What?" "They fired me. This morning." "Richard he fired me." "Why?" "What reason did they give?" "Restructuring." "But they kept Jennifer. Richard's niece. That's illegal. That's discrimination. They don't care." Grace's voice cracked. She pressed her palm against her forehead. "They had security walk me out. Marcus. Like I stole something." "Where are you right now?" "Parking garage." I don't know what to do." "Come home. We'll figure it out." But Grace didn't go home. She drove to the drugstore instead because her period was 2 weeks late and she'd been too busy at work to think about it. Now she had all the time in the world. She bought the pregnancy test with cash. The teenage cashier didn't look at her face, just scanned the box and said next. Before Grace even grabbed her change, Grace sat in her car in the drugstore parking lot, stared at the box, thought about not taking it, thought about throwing it away and pretending everything was fine. Then she drove home. Marcus's truck was gone. Out on a job probably. Grace went straight to the bathroom and took the test. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. 2 pink lines. Pregnant. Grace slid down the bathroom wall and sat on the floor. She was pregnant and unemployed, and they had $14,000 in credit card debt, and Marcus's construction business barely broke even, and her mother needed surgery money in Nigeria, and the rent was $2,000 a month, and the front door slammed open. Grace? Baby, where are you? Marcus. Home early. Grace couldn't answer. Couldn't make her throat work. He found her on the bathroom floor. Saw the pregnancy test in her hand. His face went through 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. You're pregnant? His voice cracked on the word. Grace nodded. We've been trying for 2 years. He stopped. Looked at her face. Why are you crying? Same day, Marcus. I lost my job and found out I'm pregnant the same day. Marcus sat down hard on the edge of the bathtub. Oh God. We can't afford this. We can't. Don't say that. It's true. Your back's been acting up. You missed 3 days last week. If you get hurt again, I won't get hurt. You don't know that. Grace stood up. Her legs felt shaky. We're 2 months behind on my mom's medical bills. The rent just went up. We have how much credit card debt, Marcus? That's not. How much? $14,000, he said quietly. And now I'm pregnant and I have no insurance and no income and, so, what are you saying? Marcus's voice went hard. You want to get rid of it? I didn't say that. You're thinking it. I'm scared. Grace shouted. I'm terrified and I don't know what to do, and you're acting like this is simple. It's our baby, Grace. We wanted this. We wanted a lot of things before I got fired. Marcus stood up. I can pick up extra shifts. We'll cut back. People do this with less than we have. Do they? Or do they just suffer where nobody can see? The question hung between them like smoke. Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face changed. Something Grace couldn't read. I have to go, he said. Job in 20 minutes. Marcus. We'll talk tonight. I promise. He kissed her forehead, but it felt automatic. Distant. Then he was gone. Grace stood alone in the bathroom listening to his truck drive away. Her phone rang. Her sister calling from Nigeria. Grace answered, Hey Blessing. Mama's asking about the surgery money. Can you send extra this month? Grace closed her eyes. I lost my job today. Silence. Then what? They fired me. This morning. Oh, Grace. Oh no. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm pregnant. More silence. Then Blessing started crying. You can't send money for Mama's surgery, can you? Not right now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's okay. We'll figure something out. You take care of yourself. But Blessing's voice was shaking. Grace hung up and threw her phone across the bathroom. It hit the wall and the screen cracked. She was failing everyone. Her mother, her sister, her unborn baby, Marcus, herself. Grace walked to the kitchen and spread all their bills across the table. Did the math she'd been avoiding for months. Rent, $2,000. Car payment, $350. Insurance, $160 gone now. Electric, water, phone, internet, 4 maxed out credit cards. Her mother's hospital bills, $800 a month. Marcus brought home $3,000 when work was steady. When his back held up. When the weather was good. They had $8,000 in savings. Maybe 3 months if they were careful. Grace opened her laptop and started applying for jobs. 20 applications in 4 hours. Professional. Polished. Desperate. The first rejection email came back in 30 minutes. Thank you for your interest, but we've moved forward with other candidates. Then another. And another. By 5 o'clock, Grace had sent out 43 applications and received 9 rejections. Her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Saw what happened at Anderson. You got what you deserved. Grace stared at the message. Blocked the number. Another text came through from a different number. Should have kept your head down. Someone was spreading what happened. Someone at the office. Grace's hands started shaking again. She closed the laptop and went to lie down. Marcus came home at 8. She heard him in the kitchen. Heard him moving around. Heard him swear when he saw the bills spread across the table. He came into the bedroom. Sat on the edge of the bed. "We need to talk," he said. "I know. I ran the numbers. We have 3 months. Maybe 4 if I work 7 days a week. Your back can't handle 7 days. Then I'll take something for the pain. Marcus, what else do you want me to do?" His voice was sharp now. Angry. "You want me to fix this? Fine. I'll work myself into the ground. That what you want? I want you to be honest about how scared you are instead of pretending everything's fine." Marcus stood up fast. "I'm terrified, Grace. Is that what you want to hear? I'm scared I can't take care of you. Can't take care of our baby. Can't be the man you need me to be. Happy now?" Grace sat up. "That's not what I'm doing the best I can." His voice broke. "I know it's not enough. I know I'm not enough. But it's all I got." He walked out. Grace heard the front door slam. Heard his truck start. Heard him drive away. She was alone again. Grace's phone buzzed. Her bank app notification. "Your account balance is now negative. Overdraft fee applied." She laughed. Actually laughed. Because what else could she do? Another notification. Email from Anderson and Associates. Grace opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Miss Okonkwo, please be reminded that per your severance agreement, you are prohibited from discussing the terms of your termination with any third parties. Violation of this agreement will result in forfeiture of severance pay and possible legal action." They were threatening her, making sure she stayed quiet. Grace threw her phone across the room. It hit the wall next to where she'd thrown it earlier. She pulled her knees to her chest and finally let herself cry. Really cry. The kind of crying that came from somewhere deep and dark and desperate. She cried until she couldn't breathe, until her throat was raw, until there was nothing left. When she finally stopped, it was past midnight. Marcus still wasn't home. Grace got up, washed her face, looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were swollen. Her face was blotchy. She looked like someone she didn't recognize. She put her hand on her stomach. Still flat. No sign yet of the life growing inside. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Her phone rang. "Marcus. Finally. Where are you?" Grace asked. "I needed to clear my head. I'm coming home now." "Marcus, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, it's fine. We'll talk when I get there." But his voice sounded wrong. Distant. Like he was talking to a stranger. 20 minutes later, Grace heard his truck pull up. Heard him come in. He smelled like beer and something else. Something sweet. Perfume maybe. "Were you at a bar?" Grace asked. "Yeah. Needed a drink." He wouldn't look at her. "You smell like perfume." Bar was crowded. Probably rubbed off from someone. Grace studied his face. He was lying. She knew him well enough to see it. "Who were you with?" "Nobody. Just me and a beer." "Marcus. I'm tired, Grace. Can we do this tomorrow?" He walked past her to the bedroom. Grace stood in the kitchen alone, her heart pounding, her mind racing. Something was wrong. Something more than the job and the baby and the money. Something was breaking between them and Grace didn't know how to stop it. She looked at the bills still spread across the table. Looked at her cracked phone screen. Looked at the closed bedroom door. Everything was falling apart and she was standing in the middle watching it happen. Powerless to stop any of it. Grace's phone buzzed one more time. Another rejection email. "Thank you for your interest." She deleted it without reading the rest. Tomorrow, she'd figure out what to do. Tomorrow, she'd make a plan. Tomorrow, she'd be strong. But tonight, she just stood in her kitchen and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so fast. And why Marcus smelled like someone else's perfume. Grace woke up at 6 to an empty bed. Marcus's side was cold. She found him asleep on the couch, still wearing yesterday's clothes, reeking of stale beer. She shook his shoulder. "We need to talk." Marcus groaned and opened his eyes. "Not now, Grace." "Yes, now." "Where were you last night?" "I told you, the bar." "Alone?" "Yeah, alone." He sat up, rubbed his face. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth would be nice." "I am telling you the truth." But he wouldn't look at her when he said it. Grace's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Miss Okonkwo. This is Janet from Riverside Financial. We received your application." Grace's heart jumped. "Yes, hi. Thank you for calling. We'd like to schedule an interview for tomorrow at 10. Does that work?" "Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much." Grace hung up and turned to Marcus. I got an interview. That's great, baby. But his voice was flat. Automatic. You don't sound excited. I am. I'm just tired. He stood up, stretched, winced when his back cracked. I gotta get to the job site. Marcus, can we please talk about last night? There's nothing to talk about. I went to a bar, had a few beers, came home. End of story. You smelled like perfume. Grace, come on. The bar was packed. Someone probably bumped into me. He grabbed his keys. I'm late. We'll talk later. He left before she could argue. Grace stood in the empty living room feeling like she'd just lost another fight she didn't know she was having. The next morning, Grace put on her best interview suit. It was tight around the waist already. She was only 8 weeks along, but her body was changing fast. She turned sideways in the mirror and saw the slight curve of her stomach. Nobody could tell yet. Not if she wore the right clothes. She drove to Riverside Financial 20 minutes early. Sat in the parking lot rehearsing her answers. Trying to remember how to sound confident when everything inside her was shaking. The receptionist was a white woman in her 50s who looked Grace up and down when she walked in. I'm here to see Janet. I have a 10 o'clock interview. Have a seat. She'll be with you shortly. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Grace watched 3 other people go in for interviews. All white. All younger than her. Finally, Janet appeared. White woman. Mid-40s. Professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. Grace. Come on back. The interview started fine. Grace talked about her experience at Anderson & Associates. Her sales record. Her client relationships. Impressive resume, Janet said. Why did you leave Anderson? Grace had practiced this answer. The company restructured. My position was eliminated. I see. And how long ago was this? 2 weeks. Janet's eyebrows went up slightly. That's very recent. Any other opportunities you're pursuing? Several, but I'm very interested in this position specifically. Janet nodded, but something in her face had changed. She glanced down at Grace's application, then back up. I notice you live quite far from our office. About 45 minutes. Traffic's not bad if I leave early. And you'd be comfortable with that commute long term? Grace knew what she was really asking. Absolutely. I'm very reliable. I've never missed a day of work in 6 years. Janet made a note on her paper. Tell me, Grace, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The question felt loaded. Grace chose her words carefully. Growing with the company. Taking on more responsibility. Building lasting client relationships. No other major life plans. No big changes coming. Grace's stomach tightened. Just focused on my career. Because this position requires a lot of commitment. Travel sometimes. Long hours. We need someone who can be fully present. I understand, that's not a problem. Janet smiled that professional smile again. Well, we have several candidates to interview. We'll be in touch. The interview lasted 12 minutes. Grace sat in her car afterward and knew she wouldn't get the job. She'd seen it in Janet's eyes the moment Grace walked in. Wrong color. Wrong zip code. Wrong everything. Her phone rang. Marcus. How'd it go? Fine, Grace lied. They said they'd call. That's good, right? Sure. Silence. Then Marcus said, listen, I'm gonna be late tonight. Big job. Might not be home till 10 or 11. Again? We need the money, Grace. You said so yourself. He wasn't wrong, but something in his voice felt off. Okay, Grace said. I'll see you when you get home. She drove home and spent the rest of the day applying to more jobs. 37 applications sent. 3 automated rejections received within the hour. At 6 o'clock she made dinner even though she wasn't hungry. Sat at the table alone eating pasta and watching her phone for messages that never came. At 7 her mother called from Nigeria. Grace almost didn't answer. Almost let it go to voicemail. But she picked up on the 4th ring. Mama. Grace, my daughter. How are you? I'm good, Mama. How are you feeling? The pain is worse. The doctor says I need the surgery soon. Next month maybe. Grace closed her eyes. Mama, I told Blessing. I lost my job. I can't send the money right now. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, it's okay, my child. God will provide. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find work but... Stop. You don't apologize to me. You hear? You have done so much already. More than any daughter should have to do. Her mother's voice cracked. I am proud of you, Grace. No matter what. Grace started crying. Couldn't help it. Mama, I'm pregnant. Another long silence. Then her mother made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. A baby? Oh, Grace. Oh, my child. That is wonderful news. I don't know how I'm going to 6. You will manage. You always do. You are stronger than you know. After they hung up, Grace sat at the table crying into her cold pasta. Strong. Everyone kept telling her she was strong. But strength was just another word for having no choice. At 10:30 Marcus still wasn't home. Grace tried calling. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same thing. At 11 she texted him. Where are you? No response. At 11:15 his truck finally pulled into the parking lot. Grace watched from the window as he sat there for a minute before getting out. He was on his phone. Talking to someone. Smiling. Grace's stomach twisted. Marcus came in and the smile disappeared. Hey baby. Sorry I'm late. Job ran long. Your phone was off. Battery died. He held it up like proof. Let me plug it in. He went to the bedroom. Grace followed. Marcus, who are you talking to in the truck? He froze for half a second, then plugged in his phone. Nobody. I was on a voicemail. You were smiling. Was I? He turned to face her. Grace. What's this about? You've been coming home late. Your phone's always dead. You smell like perfume. You won't look at me when you talk. What am I supposed to think? You think I'm cheating on you? His voice went hard. Are you serious right now? I don't know what to think. I'm working my ass off trying to keep us afloat, and you're accusing me of what? Having an affair? When would I even have time, Grace? Then where were you? At a job site, pouring concrete. Do you want me to bring you receipts, time cards? What do you want? Grace felt tears building. I want you to tell me the truth. I am telling you the truth. You just don't believe me. He pulled off his shirt, threw it toward the hamper. I'm taking a shower. He went into the bathroom and shut the door. Grace stood there shaking. She wanted to believe him. Needed to believe him. But something wasn't right. While the shower ran, Marcus's phone buzzed on the nightstand. Grace looked at it. Looked at the bathroom door. Another buzz. She picked up the phone. 2 new texts from T. Miss you already. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Grace's hands went numb. She opened the texts. The thread went back weeks. Dozens of messages. Flirty. Intimate. Plans to meet up. The shower turned off. Grace set the phone down exactly where it was and walked out of the bedroom. Out of the apartment. Down the stairs. She didn't know where she was going. Just needed to move. Her phone rang. Marcus. She didn't answer. He called 3 more times. She turned off her phone. Grace walked for an hour. Ended up at a park 2 miles from home. Sat on a bench and stared at nothing. Her hand went to her stomach. Still flat. Still hiding the secret growing inside. What am I supposed to do? She whispered to the baby who couldn't hear her yet. Tell me what to do. The baby didn't answer. Nobody did. When Grace finally went home, it was past 1 in the morning. Marcus was sitting on the couch waiting for her. Where the hell have you been? I was about to call the police. Grace walked past him to the bedroom. Grace, talk to me. What's going on? She turned to face him. Who's T? His face went white. What? Your phone. Someone named T. Who is it? It's nobody. Just a friend from work. A friend who misses you already. Who can't wait for tomorrow night. Marcus opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She's just a coworker. We talk sometimes, that's all. She? So it's a woman. Yeah. But nothing's happening. I swear to God. Grace, nothing's happening. You're texting another woman. Making plans to see her. Lying about where you are. But nothing's happening? We're just friends. Friends don't text like that, Marcus. You don't understand. She listens to me. She doesn't judge me. With you, everything's a crisis. Everything's falling apart. With her, I can just breathe for a minute. The words hit Grace like a punch. So, this is my fault. That's not what I meant. You're the one texting another woman and somehow I'm the problem. Grace, get out. What? Get out. Sleep somewhere else tonight. I don't care where. Just not here. This is my apartment too. Get out. Grace screamed it so loud her throat hurt. So loud the neighbors probably heard. Marcus grabbed his keys and wallet. Stopped at the door. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. I didn't do anything wrong. Then why do I feel like my world just ended? Marcus left. Grace heard his truck start, heard him drive away. Then she slid down the wall and sat on the floor of the apartment they'd shared for 3 years and finally let herself break. She cried until her eyes were swollen shut, until her chest ached, until there was nothing left inside her but emptiness. At some point, she must have fallen asleep on the floor because she woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows and her phone ringing. Unknown number again. She answered without thinking. Miss Okonkwo. This is David from Patterson and Associates. We received your resume. Not Anderson. Patterson. Different company. Yes, hi. We'd like to schedule an interview. Are you available Friday at 2? Yes, absolutely. Great. We'll see you then. Grace hung up and checked the time. 9:30. She'd slept on the floor for 7 hours. Her body ached. Her stomach was cramping. She went to the bathroom and saw blood. Not much, just spotting. But enough to terrify her. Grace called her doctor's office. The receptionist said to come in immediately. She drove herself to the clinic, sat in the waiting room alone, filled out paperwork with shaking hands. The ultrasound technician was a middle-aged black woman named Rita who took one look at Grace's face and said, "Honey, you need to breathe. Spotting's normal. Especially with stress. I got fired. My husband might be cheating. Everything's falling apart." Rita squeezed her hand. "Baby's heart is beating. That's what matters right now. See? Right there." Grace looked at the screen. Saw the tiny flutter. Everything else will work itself out. But this baby needs you to take care of yourself. Grace nodded and cried and watched her baby's heartbeat on the screen. The doctor confirmed everything was fine. Told her to rest. Avoid stress. Easier said than done. When Grace got home, Marcus's truck was in the parking lot. She found him sitting at the kitchen table. "Where were you?" "I came back this morning and you were gone." "Doctor's appointment." His face went pale. "The baby is fine. I had some spotting. They said it's stress-related." "Grace, I'm so sorry. I never should have." "Who is she?" Marcus looked down at his hands. "Her name's Tasha. She works on one of my crews." "How long?" "Nothing's happened, I swear." "How long have you been talking to her?" "About a month." "Since you lost your job." Grace laughed without humor. "Of course, I lose my job and you find someone else. It's not like that. I was scared. I didn't know how to talk to you about it. She was just there, and she listened. And you fell for her." "No. I love you. I love our baby. I made a mistake. Do you want to leave me?" The question hung in the air. Marcus looked up. Met her eyes. "No. God, no. Grace, you're my wife. You're carrying my child. I want to make this work." Then you cut her off. Completely. No more texts. No more late nights. No more lies. "Okay. Yes. I'll do whatever you want. I want my husband back." Marcus stood up and pulled her into his arms. Grace let him hold her even though every part of her wanted to push him away. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. "I'm so sorry." Grace pulled back. "If you do this again, I'm done. You understand? One more time and I'm gone. It won't happen again. I promise." But promises were easy. Grace had learned that the hard way. That Friday she went to the interview at Patterson and Associates. Wore a loose blazer to hide her growing stomach. Answered every question perfectly. The hiring manager was a black man in his 60s named Robert Patterson. He looked at her resume and smiled. "Anderson and Associates. I know Richard. Worked with him years ago. Good man." Grace's stomach sank. "Yes, sir. Shame they had to let you go. Budget cuts are rough." He made it sound like he knew exactly what happened. "Maybe he did. I'm ready for a new opportunity." "I'm sure you are." Robert set down her resume. "Can I be honest with you, Grace? Please. You're overqualified for this position. You should be applying for director-level roles. I need a job, Mr. Patterson. Any job." He studied her face for a long moment. Then he said, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" Grace's heart stopped. How did you?" "I have 4 daughters. I know the look." He smiled gently. "It's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. Legally you can't." "No, I can't. But plenty of people do anyway." He leaned back in his chair. "I'm going to be straight with you. This job pays $40,000 a year. That's $30,000 less than what you were making. The hours are long. The work is hard. And I can't guarantee you'll still have a job after maternity leave. I'll take it. Robert raised his eyebrows. Just like that? Just like that. He nodded slowly. Okay then. When can you start? Monday. Monday it is. Grace walked out of that office with a job. It paid half what she used to make, but it was something. It was survival. She called Marcus from the parking lot. I got it. I got the job. That's amazing, baby. See? I told you things would work out. But Grace didn't feel like things were working out. She felt like she was drowning, and someone had thrown her a rope that was too short to reach. Still, she held on. Because what else could she do? Grace's first day at Patterson and Associates started with Robert calling her into his office before she even sat down at her desk. Close the door, he said. Grace's stomach dropped. Is something wrong? Got a call this morning. From Richard Patterson at Anderson and Associates. Robert leaned back in his chair. Any relation to you? He fired me 6 weeks ago. That's what I figured. He wanted to warn me about you. Grace felt her face go hot. Warn you? Said you were unreliable. Difficult to work with. Had performance issues. Robert paused. Any of that true? No, sir. I closed more accounts than anyone in my department. I have the numbers to prove it. I know. I called some of your old clients. They all said the same thing. You were the best they ever worked with. Robert smiled slightly. Richard's lying. Question is why? Because I'm black and I was better at my job than his niece. Probably. But he's also covering his ass. Worried you might sue him. Grace hadn't even thought about that. Can I? Maybe. But lawsuits take time and money. You got either of those? No, sir. Didn't think so. Robert stood up. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm giving you the Miller account. Biggest client we have. You close it. You prove Richard was full of it. You lose it. You're out. Fair? Grace's hands were shaking. That's a lot of pressure. Life's pressure. Get used to it. He handed her a file. Miller wants to meet Friday. Don't screw this up. Grace went to her desk and opened the file. The Miller account was worth $500,000. If she closed it, she'd get a commission. Maybe enough to catch up on bills. If she lost it, she'd be unemployed again. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. How's the first day? Grace typed back. Fine. Busy. She didn't tell him about the Miller account. Didn't tell him about Richard trying to sabotage her. Didn't tell him she was terrified. At lunch, Grace went to the bathroom and threw up. Morning sickness was getting worse. She was 12 weeks now and starting to show. The loose clothes only hid so much. When she came back to her desk, there was a sticky note on her computer. Good luck with Miller. You'll need it. Jennifer. Grace crumpled it and threw it away, then pulled it back out and smoothed it flat. Took a photo. Evidence. Just in case. That night Marcus came home early with flowers. Thought we could celebrate your first day. Grace looked at the flowers. Grocery store bouquet. Wilted around the edges. Thank you. You okay? You look exhausted. I threw up 3 times today. Marcus's face fell. The baby? Morning sickness. It's normal. Should you be working? Maybe you should rest. We need the money, Marcus. I can't rest. He set the flowers on the counter. I got some good news. Big job came through. 6 weeks of work. Steady pay. That's great. There's a catch. It's in Austin. I'd have to stay there during the week. Come home weekends. Grace felt her chest tighten. Austin. That's 4 hours away. I know. But the money's twice what I make here. We could catch up on everything. Pay off the credit cards. Save for the baby. When would you leave? Monday. This Monday? That's 3 days from now. I know it's fast, but we can't pass this up, Grace. You said it yourself. We need the money. Grace wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him to find something local. But he was right. They needed the money. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. Marcus pulled her into a hug. It's only 6 weeks. I'll call every night. It'll fly by. But Grace didn't think 6 weeks would fly by. She thought 6 weeks alone, while pregnant and working a job she might lose, sounded like the longest 6 weeks of her life. Friday came too fast. Grace met with David Miller in a conference room downtown. He was a white man in his 70s who looked her up and down when she walked in. You're Grace? I was expecting Robert. Mr. Patterson asked me to handle your account personally. How long you been with the company? This is my first week. Miller's eyebrows shot up. And Robert's trusting you with $500,000? I have 6 years' experience in financial consulting. I've closed accounts 3 times this size. Where at? Anderson and Associates. Why'd you leave? Grace had her answer ready. I wanted a company that valued my contributions. Miller studied her for a long moment. Then he said, "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question. Grace's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. "Yes, sir. How far along?" 12 weeks. And you plan to work through the pregnancy? Absolutely. What happens when you go on maternity leave? I'll have everything transitioned smoothly. You won't miss a beat. Miller leaned back in his chair. I'll be honest with you, Grace. I'm old-fashioned. I like working with people who are going to be around, not people who are going to disappear for 3 months to have a baby. Grace felt anger rising in her chest but kept her voice steady. Mr. Miller, I understand your concern, but I'm the best person for this account. Pregnant or not. Prove it. Give me 2 weeks. I'll show you projections that'll double your current returns. Miller smiled. Not friendly. Testing. You got 1 week. I want to see those projections by next Friday. They better be good. Grace left that meeting knowing she'd just made everything harder. 1 week to create projections that would take most people 2. While dealing with morning sickness and exhaustion and a husband 4 hours away, Marcus left for Austin on Monday. Grace drove him to the bus station because his truck wouldn't make the drive. You sure you're okay with this? He asked at the gate. We don't have a choice. I'll call you tonight when I get there. Okay. He kissed her. It felt distant. Like kissing a stranger. I love you, Marcus said. Love you too. Grace watched the bus pull away and felt relief. Actual relief. She felt guilty for feeling it but couldn't help it. 6 weeks without pretending everything was fine sounded like a break. She went home and threw herself into the Miller projections. Worked 12-hour days. Survived on crackers and ginger ale. Barely slept. Marcus called every night like he promised. But the conversations felt hollow. How's work, he'd ask. Fine, busy. How are you feeling? Tired. And the baby? Fine. They'd run out of things to say after 5 minutes. On Wednesday, Grace's sister called from Nigeria. Mama's in the hospital. The pain got worse. They're saying she needs surgery immediately. Grace's hands went cold. How much? $15,000. They won't do it without payment up front. Grace looked at her bank account. -$42 after overdraft fees. I don't have it, blessing. I'm sorry. I don't have anything. Can you borrow it? From Marcus's family, from anyone. Marcus's family doesn't have that kind of money. Neither do I. Blessing started crying. She's going to die. Grace. If she doesn't get this surgery, she's going to die. I know. I know. Let me think. Let me figure something out. But there was nothing to figure out. No money. No options. Nothing. Grace hung up and screamed into a pillow until her throat was raw. That night, she didn't tell Marcus about her mother. Didn't want to hear him say they couldn't help. Couldn't handle the guilt of them both, knowing someone was dying because they were broke. Friday came. Grace presented her projections to David Miller. Spent 2 hours walking him through every number. Every calculation. Every possibility. When she finished, Miller sat back and nodded. This is good work. Grace's heart jumped. Thank you, sir. Real good work. Better than Robert led me to believe you were capable of. Does that mean? It means you got the account. Congratulations. Grace felt tears building but held them back. Thank you. You won't regret this. I better not. She called Robert as soon as she left the meeting. I got it, Miller signed. I know. He called me 10 minutes ago. Said you were the best consultant he'd ever worked with. Robert laughed. Guess Richard was wrong about you. Guess so. Come see me Monday. We need to talk about your commission. Grace hung up and sat in her car shaking. She'd done it. Closed the account. Proved herself. The commission would be at least $20,000. Enough to catch up on rent. Pay off some credit cards. Maybe even help with her mother's surgery. She called Marcus. I did it. I closed Miller. Baby, that's amazing. I knew you would. The commission's $20,000. Maybe more. That's incredible. We can breathe again. For the first time in weeks, Grace actually believed him. That weekend, Grace felt hopeful. Actually hopeful. Things were turning around. She had a job. Money coming. Marcus was working steady. Maybe they'd make it through this after all. Sunday night her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Grace Okonkwo? Woman's voice. Young. Nervous. Yes. Who is this? Silence. Then, my name's Tasha. I work with Marcus. Grace's blood went cold. I know who you are. I need to talk to you. It's important. We have nothing to talk about. Please, just listen. Marcus told me he ended things with you. That you were separated. That, he what? He said you guys were getting divorced. That you kicked him out. Grace couldn't breathe. We're not separated. We're married. I'm pregnant with his child. Tasha made a choking sound. Oh God. Oh my God. He told me, he said. What else did he tell you? That you'd been apart for months. That the baby wasn't his. That you were trying to trap him into staying. Tasha was crying now. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. How long? Grace's voice was shaking. How long have you been sleeping with him? Since he got to Austin. He showed up at my apartment Monday night, said he left you, said he wanted to be with me. Grace hung up and threw her phone across the room. Marcus had been in Austin 5 days, and he was already living with another woman. A woman he'd been lying to. A woman he'd told Grace's baby wasn't his. Grace called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hey baby. I was just about to call. You son of a bitch. Silence. Then what? Tasha just called me. Told me everything. How you're living with her. How you said we were separated. How you said the baby isn't yours. Grace. That's not, she's lying. Stop. Just stop lying. For once in your life, tell me the truth. More silence. Then Marcus said quietly. I'm sorry. That's it? You're sorry? I didn't plan this. I just being away from you. From all the pressure I could breathe again. With Tasha, I'm not failing. I'm not broke. I'm not. Not what? Not married. Not about to be a father. I'm scared, Grace. I'm terrified. I don't know how to be a dad. Don't know how to provide for you. Don't know how to. So you run? You cheat? You lie. I made a mistake. You made a choice. You chose her over your wife. Over your baby. It's not like that. Come home. Right now. Get on a bus and come home and we'll figure this out. I can't. I have 2 more weeks on this job. I don't care about the job. Come home or we're done. Grace, please. She hung up. Her phone rang immediately. Marcus calling back. She didn't answer. He called 17 more times. She turned off her phone. Grace sat on her couch holding her stomach and feeling her baby move for the first time. Tiny flutter. Like a butterfly. It's just us now, she whispered. Just you and me. The next morning Grace woke up to pounding on her door. She opened it to find Marcus standing there looking like he hadn't slept. You came back. Of course I came back. You're my wife. I'm your wife when it's convenient. When you're not pretending to be single in Austin. Marcus pushed past her into the apartment. I ended it with Tasha. Told her it was a mistake. Told her I'm committed to you. You think that makes it better? I'm trying, Grace. What do you want from me? I want you to stop breaking my heart. I'm human. I'm flawed. I made a mistake. You lied to her about our baby. You told her it wasn't yours. Marcus's face crumpled. I panicked. I didn't know what to say. The truth would have been nice. The truth is I'm terrified of being a father. Terrified of failing you both. Terrified that I'm not enough. He was crying now. Actually crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Grace wanted to forgive him. Wanted to believe he'd change. But how many times could someone break you before you stayed broken? I need you to leave, she said quietly. What? Get out. Go back to Austin. Finish your job. I need time to think. Grace, please. Leave. Now. Before I say something I can't take back. Marcus grabbed his things and left. Grace locked the door behind him and finally let herself cry. But the crying didn't last long because her phone rang. Robert from work. Grace, we need to talk. Can you come in? It's 6 in the morning on a Tuesday. I know. Just come in, please. Grace drove to the office with a sick feeling in her stomach. Robert was waiting in his office. Close the door and sit down. Grace sat. Got a call from David Miller last night. He's pulling the account. Grace's world tilted. What? Why? He found out you're pregnant. Said he can't work with someone who's going to be out on maternity leave. That's illegal. He can't. He can and he did. Said there was a clause in the contract about changing primary consultants. Technically he's within his rights. This is discrimination. Probably. But proving it will take time and lawyers. You got either. Grace slumped in her chair. No. I'm sorry, Grace. I really am. But without the Miller account, I can't justify your salary. I'm going to have to let you go. You're firing me. After I did everything you asked? I don't have a choice. The money's not there. I worked 80 hours last week. I closed that account. I did everything right. I know. But this is a business. I can't keep you on without the revenue. Grace stood up. This is because I'm pregnant. You're firing me because I'm pregnant. I'm firing you because the account fell through. Because of the pregnancy. Robert didn't argue. Couldn't argue. They both knew the truth. I'll give you 2 weeks severance. That's the best I can do. Grace walked out of that office, out of that building, into the parking lot where she sat in her car and screamed. 4 months ago she had a career, a husband who loved her, a future. Now she had nothing. No job, no marriage, no money, and a baby coming in 4 months that she had no idea how to provide for. Grace's phone rang. Her doctor's office. Miss Okonkwo? You missed your appointment this morning. Grace had completely forgotten. I'm sorry. Can we reschedule? Also, your insurance was declined. Do you have updated information? I lost my job. I don't have insurance anymore. Oh, well, you'll need to pay out of pocket then. The visit is $300. Plus the ultrasound is another $200. $500 Grace didn't have. I'll call you back, Grace said and hung up. She sat in that parking lot for an hour trying to figure out what to do next. But there was nothing to figure out. No job. No insurance. No husband. No options. Grace was completely alone and completely out of choices. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Your mother passed this morning. I'm sorry. Blessing. Grace read the message 3 times before it registered. Her mother was dead. The woman who raised her. Who sacrificed everything to give her a better life. Who believed in her when nobody else did. Gone. Because Grace couldn't come up with $15,000. Grace put her head on the steering wheel and realized she'd reached the bottom. The absolute bottom. There was nowhere left to fall. Grace sat in that parking lot staring at her sister's text until the words blurred. Her mother was gone. The funeral was in 3 days, and Grace couldn't afford a plane ticket to Nigeria. Couldn't afford anything. She called Blessing back with shaking hands. I can't come, Grace said when her sister answered. I don't have money for a flight. Blessing was silent for a long moment. Then she said, Mama understood. She knew you were struggling. That doesn't make it better. No, it doesn't. They cried together across 8,000 miles until there were no tears left. When Grace hung up, she called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. Grace. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. My mother died. What? Oh, baby. I'm so sorry. When? How? This morning. She needed surgery. We didn't have the money. Marcus was quiet. Then he said, I'm coming home. Right now. I'm getting on a bus. Don't bother. Grace, you need me. I needed you 6 weeks ago. I needed you when you were supposed to be working in Austin but were actually shacked up with your girlfriend. I needed you when I was getting fired. When I was throwing up every morning. When I was trying to figure out how to keep us from being homeless. Where were you then? Marcus? I'm sorry. I know I messed up. Messed up. You destroyed everything. Our marriage. Our future. Our baby's chance at having a father who gives a damn. That's not fair. You told Tasha this baby wasn't yours. You looked that woman in the eye and denied your own child. Don't talk to me about fair. Grace hung up and blocked his number. Then she sat there trying to figure out what to do next. She had maybe $200 to her name. Rent was due in 5 days. She was 17 weeks pregnant with no job and no insurance. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Grace almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Okonkwo. This is Sarah Chen. I'm an attorney with the Civil Rights Law Center. Grace's heart jumped. How did you get my number? Rebecca Morrison from Anderson and Associates. She said you might need help. Rebecca? From accounting? She reached out to us. Said what happened to you was discrimination. Said you have a case. Grace's hands started shaking. A case? Against both Anderson and Patterson. Pregnancy discrimination. Wrongful termination. We'd like to represent you. Pro bono. Free. We think you have a strong case. Multiple violations of federal law. If you're interested, we should meet. Grace felt something shift in her chest. Something hard and sharp and angry. When? Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, can you make it? I'll be there. Grace hung up and for the first time in months felt something other than despair. She felt rage. Clean and hot and clarifying. They'd taken everything from her. Her job, her dignity, her future. They'd made her feel small and powerless and disposable. But she wasn't powerless. Not anymore. The next morning Grace put on her best suit even though it barely fit over her growing belly. She walked into Sarah Chen's office at exactly 10 o'clock. Sarah was a small Asian woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Tell me everything," Sarah said. Grace told her. All of it. The firing at Anderson. Richard's racism. Jennifer replacing her. The illegal severance agreement. Getting hired at Patterson. David Miller pulling the account when he found out she was pregnant. Robert firing her. Sarah took notes the whole time. When Grace finished, Sarah looked up and smiled. They really screwed up. What do you mean? Both companies violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, Pregnancy Discrimination Act, multiple state laws. And they documented it. Richard's emails, Miller's statements, Robert's termination letter. It's all evidence. Can we win? We can win. But it won't be easy. These are big companies with expensive lawyers. They'll fight dirty. Drag your name through the mud. Make you look incompetent. Let them try. Sarah studied Grace's face. You're angry. That's good. We'll need that anger to get through this. I'm not just angry. I'm done being quiet. Done letting people treat me like I'm nothing. Good, because we're about to make a lot of noise. Sarah filed the lawsuit that afternoon. Sued both companies for $2 million in damages. By evening it was all over the news. Pregnant black woman sues 2 financial firms for discrimination. Grace's phone exploded with calls. Reporters, lawyers, people from her past. She ignored most of them. But one call she answered. Rebecca from Anderson. I saw the news. Good for you, Grace. It's about time someone stood up to Richard. You reached out to Sarah Chen. Why? Because what they did to you was wrong. I watched it happen. And I didn't say anything. I'm sorry for that. Are you willing to testify? Rebecca hesitated. Then she said, yes. If it helps your case, I'll testify. You could lose your job. I know, but some things are more important than a paycheck. 2 days later, Grace got a call from Anderson's lawyers. They wanted to settle $50,000. You sign an NDA and drop the suit. Grace laughed. Actually laughed. I'm suing for $2 million and you're offering $50,000. It's a generous offer given your circumstances. My circumstances? You mean being pregnant and unemployed because your client discriminated against me? We deny any wrongdoing. Then I'll see you in court. Grace hung up feeling powerful for the first time in months. That night, Marcus showed up at her apartment. She hadn't unblocked his number, so he just appeared at her door. What are you doing here? I saw the news. The lawsuit. Grace. Are you sure you want to do this? More sure than I've ever been about anything. These companies will destroy you. They have money, lawyers, power. So did you, and you couldn't destroy me. What makes you think they can? Marcus flinched. That's not fair. You keep using that word. Fair. Nothing about this is fair, Marcus. But I'm done caring about fair. I care about justice. What about the baby? The stress? Don't you dare use our baby as an excuse. You lost the right to care about this baby when you told your girlfriend it wasn't yours. I made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. What you did was betray your family. There's a difference. Marcus's face crumpled. What do you want from me? I've apologized. I've begged. I quit the job in Austin. I ended things with Tasha. What else can I do? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. We're done. Don't say that. I want a divorce. The words hung in the air between them. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Grace, please, sign the papers or don't. I don't care anymore. But stay away from me. That's my baby too. Then act like it. Pay child support. Show up when you're supposed to. Be a father even if you couldn't be a husband. Grace closed the door in his face. Heard him standing there for a long moment before finally walking away. She slid down the door and sat on the floor holding her stomach. The baby was moving now. Regular kicks and flutters that reminded Grace she wasn't alone. Not really. Just us against the world, she whispered. We can do this. The next few weeks were brutal. Anderson's lawyers filed motions to dismiss. Claimed Grace had no case. Claimed she was fired for legitimate business reasons. Sarah fought back hard, filed responses, gathered evidence, took depositions. Grace sat through endless meetings, answered the same questions over and over, watched lawyers try to twist her words. Isn't it true you had performance issues at Anderson? No, but you were fired. I was fired because I'm black and pregnant, not because of my performance. That's quite an accusation. It's the truth. The lawyer smiled like he didn't believe her. We'll let the court decide that. At 22 weeks pregnant, Grace got evicted. Couldn't make rent. Couldn't afford to fight it. She packed her things into trash bags and moved into a women's shelter. The shelter was crowded and loud and smelled like bleach and desperation. But it was safe and free, and Grace was grateful for it. Her roommate was a 19-year-old girl named Keisha who'd been kicked out by her parents for getting pregnant. How far along are you? Keisha asked the first night. 22 weeks. You? 7 months. Having a boy. Keisha rubbed her belly. You got family? My husband and I are separated. My mother just passed. Sister's in Nigeria. Damn, that's rough. What about the baby's father? He's around. Sort of. We're getting divorced. Men are trash, Keisha said matter-of-factly. But babies are blessings. That's what my grandma says. Grace wanted to believe her. Wanted to see this baby as a blessing instead of another problem to solve. But it was hard when she was sleeping in a shelter with all her possessions in garbage bags. Sarah called with an update. Patterson's offering to settle. $100,000. Plus they'll pay your medical bills through delivery. What about Anderson? Still fighting. Richards dug in. Says he'll take this all the way to trial. Then we go to trial. Grace. Trials are risky. Juries are unpredictable. We might lose. We might win. The stress isn't good for the baby. Neither is being homeless. Neither is watching these men get away with destroying women's lives. I'm not backing down. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Okay. We fight. 2 days later, Grace went into early labor. She was at the shelter when the contractions started. Sharp and regular and terrifying. Keisha called 911. The ambulance came. Grace ended up in the ER alone and scared. You're dilating, the nurse said. We need to stop this, or you'll deliver too early. They gave Grace shots. Hooked her up to monitors. Made her lie flat on her back for hours. The baby's heartbeat filled the room. Fast and strong and stubborn. She's a fighter, the nurse said. Just like her mama. Grace stayed in the hospital for 3 days. When she was finally released, the contractions had stopped, but the doctor was clear. Bed rest. Complete bed rest until you're full term. Any more stress could trigger premature labor. I can't afford bed rest. I have a lawsuit. I have. You have a baby who needs you alive. Everything else can wait. But everything else couldn't wait. The trial was in 6 weeks. Sarah needed Grace to prepare. To review documents. To practice testimony. Grace did it all from a bed in the shelter. Keisha brought her food. Other women checked on her. The shelter staff bent rules to let her stay. Marcus showed up one day with flowers and guilt all over his face. I heard you were in the hospital. Is the baby okay? We're fine. You can leave now. Grace, please. Let me help. Let me do something. You want to help, pay child support. Sign the divorce papers. Show up when you're supposed to. I will, I swear. But can we please talk? Really talk. Grace was too tired to fight. Fine. Talk. Marcus sat in the plastic chair next to her bed. I'm seeing a therapist. Trying to figure out why I screwed everything up. And I'm scared. Have been my whole life. Scared of failing. Scared of not being enough. When things got hard with us, I ran instead of dealing with it. That's not an excuse, I know. But I'm trying to do better. Trying to be the man you thought you married. I don't know if that man exists. He does. I promise he does, and he wants to be there for his daughter. Grace looked at him. Really looked. Saw the circles under his eyes. The weight he'd lost. The genuine remorse. Daughter. Marcus smiled. I figured. You said she at the hospital. Grace's hand went to her stomach. Yeah. It's a girl. What are you going to name her? Hope. Hope Adana. It means father's daughter in Igbo. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. That's beautiful. She deserves a beautiful name. Deserves better than what we're giving her. Then let's give her better. Together. Grace wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that he'd changed. But trust was earned and Marcus had a long way to go. You can be in her life. But we're not getting back together. Not now. Maybe not ever. I'll take whatever you're willing to give me. Then start by being reliable. Show up when you say you will. Do what you promise. Be a father even when it's hard. I will. I swear on everything I will. Marcus left, and Grace felt something she hadn't felt in months. Not hope exactly, but possibility. Maybe things could still work out. Maybe. The trial started on a cold Monday morning in November. Grace was 32 weeks pregnant and huge. She could barely fit behind the defendant's table. Richard Patterson sat across the courtroom looking smug and confident. His lawyers wore expensive suits and arrogance. Sarah stood up for opening arguments and painted a clear picture. Grace was a talented employee, top performer, closed major accounts. Then she got pregnant and suddenly she was expendable. This isn't complicated, Sarah told the jury. Miss Okonkwo was fired because she was black and pregnant. Everything else is just window dressing. Richard's lawyer stood up and told a different story. Grace was underperforming. The company was restructuring. Her termination had nothing to do with race or pregnancy. My client made a business decision. Nothing more. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Witness after witness. Document after document. Grace testified for 3 days straight. Why do you think you were fired? Richard's lawyer asked. Because I was black, pregnant and better at my job than the white woman who replaced me. That's quite an accusation. It's the truth. You can twist it however you want, but the facts don't change. The lawyer tried to rattle her. Tried to make her emotional. Tried to paint her as angry and unreasonable. But Grace stayed calm. Stayed focused. Told her story clearly and honestly. Rebecca testified next. Told the jury she watched Richard systematically give Grace's responsibilities to Jennifer. Watched him set Grace up to fail. It was obvious what was happening. Everyone knew. Nobody said anything because we were afraid we'd be next. On the last day of trial, the jury deliberated for 6 hours. Grace sat in the hallway with Sarah waiting. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. The baby was kicking non-stop. Whatever happens, Sarah said, you should be proud. You fought. Most people don't. The bailiff appeared. Jury's back. Grace waddled into the courtroom. Sat down. Held her breath. The foreman stood. We find in favor of the plaintiff. Grace Okonkwo. Grace's knees went weak. We award damages in the amount of $1.7 million. The courtroom erupted. Grace started crying. Sarah hugged her. Richard's face went pale. His lawyers started arguing for an appeal. But Grace didn't care. She'd won. Actually won. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Miss Okonkwo, how does it feel to win? Grace put her hand on her belly and smiled through tears. It feels like justice. It feels like my daughter's going to grow up in a world that's a little bit better, because I didn't stay quiet. That night Grace went into labor for real. This time there was no stopping it. Marcus met her at the hospital. Held her hand through contractions. Whispered encouragement when she wanted to give up. You can do this. You're the strongest person I know. At 11:47 p.m. Hope Adana Okonkwo came into the world screaming. 6 pounds 3 ounces of fury and life. The nurse placed her on Grace's chest, and everything else fell away. The lawsuit, the divorce, the struggle, all of it disappeared, and there was just Grace and her daughter. Hey baby girl, Grace whispered. We made it. We actually made it. Marcus stood at the edge of the bed crying. She's perfect. You're both perfect. Grace looked up at him. You want to hold her, can I? Grace handed Hope to Marcus and watched him cradle their daughter like she was made of glass. I'm going to do better, Marcus said to Hope. I'm going to be the father you deserve. I promise. Grace wanted to believe him. Wanted Hope to have the father Grace never had. But only time would tell. For now, in this moment, they were a family. Broken and messy and complicated. But a family nonetheless. And Grace finally understood something her mother tried to tell her years ago. Strength wasn't about never falling. It was about getting back up every single time. Grace brought Hope home to the shelter 3 days after giving birth. Her body ached everywhere. Her breasts were engorged and leaking. She hadn't slept more than 2 hours straight since Hope was born. Keisha was waiting in their shared room with a handmade banner that said, "Welcome home, baby Hope." Look at her, Keisha whispered, peering at Hope's sleeping face. She's so tiny. She's perfect, Grace said, even though perfect didn't pay bills or buy diapers or figure out what came next. That night, Hope cried for 4 hours straight. Grace tried everything. Feeding, changing, rocking. Walking. Nothing worked. What am I doing wrong? Grace asked through her own tears. Keisha took Hope and started humming. The baby quieted almost immediately. You're not doing anything wrong. You're exhausted. Babies know when you're stressed. I'm always stressed. Then we gotta fix that. Keisha handed Hope back. You got that lawsuit money coming, right? Eventually, could be months before it clears. What about now? How you gonna eat? Grace hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know. The next morning, Grace applied for emergency assistance. Food stamps. WIC. Medicaid. Stood in line for 3 hours at the social services office with Hope strapped to her chest. The caseworker was a tired white woman who barely looked at Grace while typing. You're eligible for $400 a month in food assistance. WIC covers formula and baby food. Medicaid will cover both of you. What about housing? Waiting list is 2 years minimum. 2 years? I have a newborn. So does everyone else on the list. The woman handed Grace a stack of papers. Sign here. And here. And here. Grace signed everything with one hand while Hope nursed under a blanket. This was survival now. Forms and lines and begging for help. Marcus showed up at the shelter that afternoon with a car seat and 3 bags of diapers. I can't come in, he said at the door. Men aren't allowed. But I wanted to bring you this. Thank you. Can I see her? Grace brought Hope outside. Watched Marcus's face light up when he held his daughter. She looks like you, he said softly. She has your nose. Yeah? Marcus touched Hope's tiny nose. Poor kid. They almost smiled at each other. Almost felt normal. I got a new job, Marcus said. Steady hours. Better pay. I'm going to start sending you money. Every week. Whatever I can spare. Okay. I mean it, Grace. I'm going to show up this time. We'll see. Marcus handed Hope back. I know I don't deserve another chance. But I'm asking anyway. You don't get chances with me anymore. You get chances with her. Don't waste them. The first check came 2 weeks later. $300. It wasn't much, but it was something. Grace used it to buy formula and diapers and a bus pass. Started looking for work even though Hope was barely a month old. But nobody wanted to hire a woman with a newborn. Not even for minimum wage. You'd need childcare. One manager said. That's expensive. You'd be working just to pay for daycare. He wasn't wrong. Daycare cost more than most entry-level jobs paid. Grace went back to the shelter defeated. Found a letter waiting for her. The settlement check. $1.7 million minus Sarah's fees and taxes. Grace was left with just over $1 million. She stared at the number until it stopped looking real. Holy shit, Keisha said over her shoulder. You're rich. Grace wasn't rich. Not really. But she had options now. Actual options. The next day Grace put a deposit on a small apartment. 2-bedroom. Safe neighborhood. Close to a park. It was tiny but it was hers. She bought furniture from thrift stores. A crib for Hope. A bed for herself. A table and 2 chairs. Everything secondhand, but clean and sturdy. Moving day Keisha helped her pack. I'm gonna miss you, Keisha said, folding Hope's onesies. Come visit. Anytime. For real? For real. You helped me when I had nothing. I don't forget that. Keisha hugged her tight. You're gonna be okay, Grace. You and Hope both. Grace wanted to believe her. The apartment felt huge compared to the shelter. Quiet. Safe. Grace put Hope down in her crib and watched her sleep. Just us now, baby girl. We can do this. But doing it alone was harder than Grace expected. Hope had colic and screamed for hours every night. Grace was surviving on coffee and desperation. At 3 in the morning, when Hope wouldn't stop crying, Grace called Marcus. I can't do this, she said when he answered. I can't. She won't stop crying and I haven't slept in days and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in my truck. Marcus showed up 20 minutes later. Took Hope from Grace's arms and started walking her around the apartment. Go sleep, he said. I got her. What if she needs to eat? Then I'll wake you up. Go. Grace collapsed on her bed and was asleep in seconds. She woke up 6 hours later to sunlight and silence. Panic hit immediately. She ran to the living room. Marcus was asleep on the couch with Hope on his chest. Both of them snoring softly. Grace stood there watching them and felt something crack open in her chest. This could have been their life. Should have been their life. But Marcus had chosen differently and there was no going back. She picked up Hope carefully. Marcus woke up. How long was I out? Grace asked. 6 hours. Hope ate twice. Changed her 3 times. She's good. Thank you. That's what I'm here for. Marcus sat up and rubbed his face. I know I screwed up, but I want to be a good dad. Just need you to tell me how. Show up. That's all. Just keep showing up. Marcus started coming by twice a week. Would take Hope for a few hours so Grace could sleep or shower or just breathe. It wasn't a marriage. Wasn't even a friendship. But it was co-parenting, and for now that was enough. When Hope was 3 months old, Grace started getting calls. Other women who'd seen her story on the news. Women who'd been fired for being pregnant, discriminated against, pushed out. Can you help me? They'd ask. Can you tell me what to do? Grace didn't have answers, but she listened. Shared Sarah's contact information. Connected women with resources. After the 10th call, she realized something. She could help these women. Not as a lawyer, but as someone who'd been through it. Grace used part of her settlement money to start a consulting business. Nothing fancy. Just her and a laptop and a phone. She helped women document discrimination, prepare for legal battles, navigate the system that was designed to crush them. The business grew faster than she expected. Word spread. More women called. Grace hired 2 assistants, both of them single mothers who'd been where she was. 6 months after Hope was born, Grace was making enough to support them comfortably. Not rich, but stable. Safe. Marcus came by one evening and found Grace working at her kitchen table while Hope slept. You're building something, he said, looking at her laptop screen full of client files. Trying to. I'm proud of you. Grace looked up. Don't what? Don't act like we're friends. Like things are okay between us. They're not. Marcus sat down. I know. But I can still be proud of you. Can still love you, even if we're not together. Love isn't enough. It never was. Then what is? Showing up. Being reliable. Doing what you say you'll do. That's what matters. I've been showing up. For 6 months. That's good. But it's not enough to erase what you did. Marcus nodded slowly. Fair. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm in Hope's life for good, whether you forgive me or not. Good. She deserves that. When Hope was 9 months old, Grace got a call from Rebecca. Richard's being investigated. SEC is looking into financial irregularities at Anderson. Looks like he was cooking the books. Are you serious? Dead serious. Jennifer's involved too. They're probably going to lose everything. Grace felt satisfaction wash over her. Not happiness exactly. But justice. Good. She said simply. A week later, Richard called her directly. Grace, I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes. Against her better judgment, Grace agreed to meet him. Coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. Richard looked like he'd aged 10 years. Gray hair. Deep lines around his eyes. Hands shaking when he picked up his coffee. They're taking everything, he said. The house. The cars. My reputation. Everything. You took everything from me first. I know. I'm sorry. I should have said that months ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm sorry. Grace studied his face. Saw genuine remorse. It didn't change anything, but it was something. Apology noted. Anything else? I wanted you to know Jennifer testified against me. Trying to save herself. Threw me under the bus without hesitation. That's what happens when you build your life on lies and corruption. Richard nodded. Yeah, I guess it is. He stood up to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, you were the best analyst I ever hired. I was threatened by that. By you. That's why I pushed you out. I know. You deserved better. I did. But I survived anyway. That's what you people never understand. You can knock us down, but we get back up. Every single time. Grace left that coffee shop feeling lighter than she had in years. That night, she sat on her apartment floor playing with Hope. Watching her daughter stack blocks and knock them down and laugh. Marcus was there too. He came by most evenings now. Had dinner with them. Helped put Hope to bed. Then went back to his own place. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. She's walking soon, Marcus said. Watching Hope pull herself up on the couch. I know. Growing too fast. They do that. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I'm seeing someone. Grace's stomach tightened, but not with jealousy. With something else. Relief maybe. That's good. You should. Her name's Angela. She's a teacher. Has a kid of her own. I told her everything. About us. About what I did. She knows I'm still trying to earn back your trust. As long as she's good to Hope, I don't care what you do. She wants to meet you. Eventually, if that's okay. Grace looked at Marcus. Saw a different man than the one she'd married. More honest, more humble, more aware of his failures. Yeah. Eventually that's okay. When Hope was a year old, Grace organized a support group. Women who'd been discriminated against at work, who'd been fired for being pregnant, who were surviving on their own. They met every Tuesday evening at Grace's apartment. Shared stories. Cried together. Laughed together. Built something that felt like family. One woman named Carmen showed up 6 months pregnant and terrified. "They're going to fire me," she said. "I can feel it. I'm the only Latina in my department, and I know they're waiting for an excuse." "Then we document everything," Grace said. "Every email. Every conversation. Every slight. We build a case before they can build theirs." Grace helped Carmen fight back. When the company tried to fire her, they were ready. Had evidence. Had witnesses. Had a lawyer. The company settled for $200,000. Carmen cried in Grace's kitchen. "You saved my life." "No. You saved your own life. I just showed you how." That's when Grace understood what her mother had been trying to tell her all those years ago. Strength wasn't about standing alone. It was about standing together. On Hope's first birthday, Grace threw a party, small, just the women from the support group and their kids. Marcus came too with Angela. She was nice, kind, good with Hope. Grace watched Marcus and Angela together and felt nothing but gratitude. He'd found someone who made him better. That's all she'd ever wanted. Keisha showed up with her son Jaden. He was 4 months old and looked just like her. "Look at you," Keisha said, looking around Grace's apartment. "Got your own place. Your own business. Your own life. I'm so proud of you. Couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You're the strongest person I know." Grace didn't feel strong. She felt tired and scared and uncertain about the future. But she was still here. Still fighting. Still surviving. That counted for something. Late that night, after everyone left, Grace sat in Hope's room watching her daughter sleep. Thought about everything that had happened in the past year and a half. She'd lost her job. Her mother. Her marriage. Her dignity. Everything that defined her life had been stripped away. But she'd built something new. Something better. Something that belonged only to her. Grace's phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. "Anderson and Associates filed for bankruptcy. Richard's facing criminal charges. Thought you'd want to know." Grace smiled. Not with malice. Just with satisfaction. Justice was slow, but it was real. She texted back. "Thank you for everything. You did this. Not me. You fought when most people would have given up." Grace put her phone down and picked up Hope. Held her daughter close and breathed in that baby smell. "I fought for you," Grace whispered. "So, you'd grow up in a world that's a little bit better. A little bit fairer. Where women like us don't have to choose between being mothers and being human." Hope stirred, but didn't wake. Just grabbed Grace's finger and held on. 2 years later, Grace's consulting business had grown into something real. She had an office. A staff of 12. All women. All survivors. Marcus was a steady presence in Hope's life. Showed up every week without fail. Took her to the park. Read her stories. Became the father he'd promised to be. Grace never forgave him completely. Some betrayals cut too deep. But she learned to coexist with him. For Hope's sake. Angela became a friend. Not close but warm. They had coffee sometimes. Talked about co-parenting. About life. About survival. Grace dated occasionally, but never seriously. She had Hope. Had her business. Had her community of women who needed her. That was enough. One Tuesday evening, a young black woman showed up at the support group. Pregnant. Terrified. Just fired from her job. "I don't know what to do," she said, crying. "I have nothing. No money. No family. No options." Grace handed her a tissue and sat down beside her. "I've been where you are. Exactly where you are. And I'm going to tell you what someone should have told me. You're not alone. You're not powerless. And you're stronger than you think." "I don't feel strong. None of us do. But strength isn't about feeling it. It's about doing it anyway. Getting up every day even when you want to give up. Fighting even when the fight seems impossible." The woman looked at Grace with desperate hope. "How do I start?" "You already did. You showed up. That's the hardest part." Grace spent the next hour walking her through everything. Resources. Legal options. Survival strategies. The same things people had done for her. When the meeting ended, the woman hugged Grace tight. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. But Grace did know. She knew exactly what it meant because someone had done the same for her. That night, Grace tucked Hope into bed and read her favorite story. Then sat beside her in the dark thinking about everything they'd survived. Your grandmother would have loved you, Grace said softly. She fought her whole life for me to have opportunities she never had. And I'm fighting for you to have what I couldn't. Hope was asleep, but Grace kept talking anyway. I want you to grow up knowing that women like us don't stay quiet. Don't disappear. Don't let anyone make us feel small. We survive. We fight. We build. And we lift each other up. Grace kissed Hope's forehead and walked out. In the living room, she opened her laptop. 17 new emails from women asking for help. Each one a story of discrimination, of struggle, of survival. Grace started typing responses. One by one. Woman by woman. Building bridges so others wouldn't have to cross the same rivers alone. This was her life now. Not the one she'd planned. Not the one she'd dreamed of. But the one she'd built from the wreckage of everything that fell apart. And it was enough. More than enough. It was purpose. Years from now, Hope would ask about her grandmother. About Marcus. About why Grace did what she did. And Grace would tell her the truth. That the world breaks us all. But some of us refuse to stay broken. Some of us gather the pieces and build something new. Something stronger. Something that can't be taken away. Grace closed her laptop and looked around her apartment. Saw the photos on the wall. Hope's toys scattered across the floor. The life she'd created out of nothing. She thought about Richard Patterson losing everything. About the women she'd helped who were now helping others. About Marcus becoming the father he'd promised to be. About Hope sleeping peacefully in the next room. This wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was no perfect resolution. No romantic reunion. No dramatic transformation. This was survival. Raw and messy and real. And Grace had learned the hardest lesson of all. That sometimes survival is the victory. That standing up is resistance. That refusing to disappear is power. She'd been fired for being black and pregnant. They'd tried to erase her. Silence her. Make her another statistic. But she was still here. Still fighting. Still building something that mattered. And that was everything.